The sun hung low over the Arizona plains, bleeding amber light across a land that had long forgotten mercy. Dust rolled like ghosts across the open range, stirred by a lone rider pushing her horse harder than it had any right to go. The animal's flanks were soaked in sweat, foam gathering at its mouth, but still, she urged it forward. Behind her, far off but closing, came just any men. Hunters, outlaws, and they weren't after money. They were after her, and the boy. Just a little farther, she whispered, her voice cracking. Please, just a little farther. The child clung to her waist, small hands trembling but silent. He had learned quickly in this world noise got you killed. Ahead, through the haze, a shape emerged, a ranch, wide fences, a windmill creaking lazily in the breeze, a barn standing proud against time, and beyond it, cattle grazing slow and steady as if danger didn't exist. She almost cried, but she didn't, not yet. She kicked the horse once more. The cowboy who didn't look twice. Cole Mercer stood by the corral, one hand resting on the wooden fence, the other tipping his hat just enough to block the sun. He was a man carved from the land itself, broad shoulders, sunburnt skin, eyes that had seen too much and trusted too little. The ranch was quiet today, too quiet. Storm's coming, muttered old Ben, the ranch hand, spitting tobacco into the dirt. Cole didn't answer. He wasn't watching the sky. He was watching the horizon. A rider. Fast. Too fast. His jaw tightened. Trouble, he said simply. By the time the horse stumbled into the yard, Cole was already moving. The woman barely made it off the saddle before collapsing. Cole caught her. She was lighter than he expected. Fragile, almost, but her grip on his shirt was anything but weak. Help, my son. The boy slid down next, eyes wide but fearless. Cole crouched in front of him. What's your name, kid? Eli. Cole nodded once. Then he looked at the woman. And that's when he saw it. Blood. Not fresh, but not old either. Ben, Cole called sharply. Get water, now. Bargain born in fear inside the ranch house. The air was thick with tension. The woman lay on the bed, pale but conscious now. The boy sat beside her, holding her hand like it was the only thing keeping the world from breaking apart. Cole stood near the door, arms crossed, watching, waiting, judging. Finally, she spoke. My name is Sarah. Her voice was soft but steady. Cole didn't move. Those men, they're coming, she continued. They won't stop. Why? Cole asked. A pause. Then, because I killed one of them. Silence fell like a gunshot. Old Ben muttered under his breath. Well, that'll do it. Cole's eyes didn't leave her. You bring trouble to my land, he said calmly. That makes it my problem. I know, she whispered. Then she did something that made even Cole Mercer blink. She sat up, wincing in pain, and looked him dead in the eyes. If you protect my son. Her voice broke for the first time. I'll be yours forever. The room went still. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. Ben choked slightly. Well, be damned. Cole didn't smile, didn't react, didn't even blink. He just looked at her long, hard, like he was measuring something deeper than words. And then he spoke. The answer that silenced the world. I don't take bargains like that. His voice was quiet, flat, final. Sarah's face fell just slightly, but she didn't look away. Cole stepped closer. I don't protect people for promises, he continued. And I sure as hell don't own anyone. The boy tightened his grip on his mother's hand. But Cole wasn't done. He knelt down so he was eye level with her. If I protect your son, he said slowly, it's because no child deserves to die for a man's sins. A pause. The air shifted. And as for you, he stood again. You stay because you choose to, not because you owe me. Silence. Heavy. Unshakable. Even Ben removed his hat. Sarah's eyes filled but no tears fell. Not yet. Then why help us at all? She asked. Cole turned toward the door. Because out there dust was rising again. They're already here. The riders at dusk. 6 men rode in like they owned the land. Black coats, hard faces, guns worn like extensions of their hands. At their front was a man with a scar running from his ear to his chin. He smiled when he saw Cole. Not kindly. Afternoon, the man called. We're looking for a woman and a boy. Cole stepped out onto the porch, hat low, eyes steady. Lots of folks pass through, he said. The man chuckled. This one didn't just pass through. She stole something. Cole's gaze hardened. What kind of something? The man leaned forward in his saddle. Something worth killing for. Inside the house, Sarah froze. Eli clutched her arm. They found us, he whispered. She pulled him close. No, she said softly. Not yet. A line drawn in dust outside. Cole stepped off the porch, slowly, deliberately, boots crunching against dry earth. The men watched him carefully now, sizing him up. Name's Cole Mercer, he said. The scarred man smirked. Heard of you. That so? Yeah. Heard you're the kind who minds his own business. Cole's eyes flicked briefly toward the house, then back. I am. The man grinned wider. Then this won't be a problem. A long pause. The wind picked up. Dust swirled between them like something alive. And then Cole spoke. You're right. The men relaxed slightly. Until, you won't be a problem. The smile vanished. Hands drifted toward guns. Tension snapped tight as a pulled trigger. From inside the house, Sarah closed her eyes. Because in that moment she understood something. This wasn't just a cowboy. This was a man who had already chosen. The wind carried the scent of iron. Not rain. Blood. It always came before violence. Like the land itself knew what men were about to do. Cole Mercer stood alone in the yard, facing 6 armed riders whose shadows stretched long and cruel across the dirt. The sun dipped lower behind them, turning the sky into a burning canvas of red and gold. A perfect hour for killing. The scarred man tilted his head, studying Cole like a predator deciding whether the prey was worth the effort. You got courage, he said slowly. I'll give you that. Cole didn't respond, didn't blink, didn't move. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was loaded. You hiding them? The man asked. Cole let out a quiet breath. Then no. The lie sat between them like a coiled snake. One of the riders shifted. Boss, we ain't got time for games. The scarred man raised a hand, silencing him without looking. His eyes stayed locked on Cole. You don't strike me as a liar, he said. I ain't, Cole replied. A faint smirk crept across the man's lips. Good, he said. Because if I find out you are, I'll burn this ranch to the ground, nail by nail. Inside the house, Sarah pressed her hand over Eli's mouth to keep him from making a sound. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might give them away. Eli whispered against her palm. Mama, is he gonna die? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. The first showdown happened faster than thought. A flicker, a twitch. One of the outlaws reached too eagerly for his gun. That was all it took. Cole moved. His hand snapped to his revolver with the kind of speed that only came from years of surviving things that wanted you dead. Bang! The shot cracked through the evening like thunder. The outlaw dropped before he even knew he'd been hit. For a heartbeat nothing moved. Then chaos erupted. Gunfire exploded across the yard. Ben dove behind the trough, cursing loudly as bullets tore splinters from the wood. Cole stepped sideways, calm in the storm. Firing again. Bang! Another rider pitched from his saddle. Horses screamed. Men shouted. Dust rose like smoke from hell itself. Inside the house, Eli flinched as the sound of gunfire shook the walls. Sarah pulled him close, her body shielding his. Don't look, she whispered. Don't listen. But the West didn't let children stay children for long. A cowboy is past. Comes Callan outside. Cole moved like a man who had done this too many times. Not reckless, not wild, precise, cold. Each shot meant something. Each movement calculated. The scarred man slid off his horse, using it as cover, his eyes now burning with something darker than anger. Recognition. Cole Mercer, he muttered under his breath. Then louder, knew it. Cole didn't answer, but his jaw tightened just enough to confirm it. You ain't just some ranch hand, the man shouted over the gunfire. You're the ghost of Red Canyon. Ben froze for half a second. Red Canyon? He whispered to himself. The name carried weight. Stories. Rumors of a man who walked out of a massacre that left 20 men dead and vanished like smoke. Cole fired again, dropping another outlaw, but his silence said everything. The scarred man laughed, even as bullets tore through the air around him. "Well, let this something," he shouted. "Boys, we got ourselves a legend." "Shut up," Cole said quietly, but there was something different now, something heavier. Because the past didn't stay buried out here. It waited, and then it came back with a gun. Inside the house, truth unraveled. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. The sound, the waiting, the not knowing. She moved to the window, just enough to see, and what she saw stole the breath from her chest. Cole stood in the open, gun steady, surrounded by chaos, and yet somehow untouched by it, like the storm bent around him. "Who is he?" she whispered. Eli looked up at her. "Is he gonna save us?" She didn't answer right away, because something inside her was shifting, breaking, reforming. "He already is," she said finally. The last 2 minutes gunfire slowed, then stopped. Dust settled slowly back to the ground. 4 bodies lay still in the dirt. 2 men remained. Cole and the scarred outlaw. Ben peeked up from behind cover. "I ain't interrupting this, smart man." The scarred outlaw stepped forward, revolver still in hand. "You could have walked away," he said. "Let us take her. Would have been easier." Cole lowered his gun slightly, but didn't holster it. "Yeah," he said. "So why didn't you?" A long pause, the kind that carries more truth than words. Cole's eyes flicked toward the house, just for a second, but it was enough. The outlaw saw it, and smiled. "Ah," he said softly, "it's the woman." Cole's expression darkened. "Careful," he warned, but the man wasn't afraid anymore. He tilted his head, curious. "She must be something special," he continued. "For a man like you to pick a fight he can't win." Cole's voice dropped. "I already won." The outlaw chuckled. "Not yet." And then he fired. A moment that changed everything. Time slowed. The bullet tore through the air, straight toward the house, toward the window, toward Sarah. Cole saw it, and for the first time he moved without thinking, without calculation, without control. No, he lunged, too far, too fast. The shot rang out, glass shattered. Sarah gasped, and then silence. Who took the bullet? For a moment, the world stopped breathing. Dust hung frozen in the air. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over everything. Sarah stood still, harmed. Eli clutched her dress, shaking, and outside Cole Mercer staggered. A dark stain spread across his shirt. He looked down at it, almost surprised, then back up at the house. Her. Their eyes met, and in that single moment everything unspoken passed between them. Fear, relief, something deeper, something dangerous. Cole swayed slightly but didn't fall. The scarred man frowned. "Did you just take a bullet for her?" he asked. Cole didn't answer. He raised his gun, steady and shaking. Bang! The outlaw dropped, and just like that it was over. After the storm, the yard fell silent. Only the wind remained. Ben slowly stood, looking around at the bodies. "Well," he muttered. That escalated. Cole took 1 step, then another, then he collapsed. The woman who refused to lose. Sarah ran out the door, across the dirt, ignoring everything except the man lying in front of her. "Cole," she cried, dropping beside him. His eyes fluttered open, still conscious, still stubborn. "I'm fine," he muttered. "You're bleeding," she said, her voice shaking. He glanced down. "Yeah, that happens." She pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the blood. "Why would you do that?" she demanded, tears finally breaking free. "Why would you risk your life for us?" Cole really looked at her, and for the first time, there was no distance in his eyes. "No one protected you before," he said quietly. Her breath caught. "And I was too late to save people once," he continued. "Ain't gonna be late again." The words hit harder than any bullet. She shook her head, crying now. "You don't even know me." "Don't need to." A pause, then softer. "You asked me to protect your son." His gaze shifted slightly to Eli, standing a few feet away, terrified, hopeful, and "I gave you my answer." Night fell slow and heavy over the ranch. The kind of night where silence wasn't peaceful, it was watchful. Every shadow stretched longer. Every creak of wood sounded like a warning. The desert, so vast and open by day, felt tight and suffocating under the weight of darkness. Inside the house, lamplight flickered against the walls, and Cole Mercer lay half-conscious on the bed, his life hanging by a thread. A man who wouldn't die easily. Hold him still. I am holding him still. Well, hold him better. Old Ben's gruff voice filled the room as he worked with rough hands that had seen too many wounds and too few miracles. Sarah pressed down on Cole's shoulder, her hand stained with his blood. Her fingers trembled, but she didn't let go. Is he going to make it? She asked. Ben didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. He's lost a lot of blood, Ben finally muttered. Bullet went clean through, but that don't mean much if fever takes him. Cole groaned slightly, his body fighting even in unconsciousness. Stubborn, Ben added. That might save him. Sarah leaned closer, brushing damp hair from Cole's forehead. Don't die, she whispered. Not after this. Eli stood in the corner, watching everything with wide, silent eyes. He hadn't cried. Not once. But something in him had changed. Children in the West didn't get the luxury of staying soft. A secret too dangerous to tell. Horse passed. The ranch grew quiet again, but it wasn't the calm from before. 4 bodies had been buried, 2 left for the desert to claim, and the question still lingered, like a ghost in every room. Why were they really being hunted? Sarah stood by the window, staring out into the darkness. Her reflection looked back at her pale, tired, haunted. You should get some rest, Ben said from behind her. Can't. He nodded. Figured as much. A long silence followed. Then, they weren't just outlaws, Ben said. Sarah stiffened. No, she admitted quietly. They weren't. Ben studied her carefully. Then you best start talking, he said. Because men don't ride that hard and kill that fast over nothing. She closed her eyes, and for a moment she considered lying, running, disappearing again. But then she looked back at the bed. T. Cole, a man who had taken a bullet meant for her, man who didn't even know the truth. They were hired, she said finally. Ben's brow furrowed. By who? Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. By someone powerful. The name that changed everything. Ben leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Well, that narrows it down to half the devils in the West, he said dryly. Sarah didn't smile. This one owns railroads, she said. Land, towns. Ben went still. Say the name. She hesitated. Because names had power. Names could kill. But silence could too. Henry Calloway. The air shifted, even. The lamp flame flickered like it had heard something. It shouldn't. Ben exhaled slowly. Well, hell. The man behind the hunt. Henry Calloway wasn't just rich. He was the kind of man who didn't hear the word no. Not from lawmen. Not from judges. Not from God himself. If it came down to it, railroads carved across the land because he wanted them to. Towns rose and fell at his command. And men who crossed him didn't live long enough to regret it. Ben rubbed his jaw. What did you take from him? Sarah turned back to the window. Something he can't afford to lose. That don't answer the question. She swallowed, then said it. Evidence. The weight of truth. Been straightened. Evidence of what? Sarah's hands tightened at her sides. Land seizures. Murder orders. Bribes. Names of officials he owns. Ben let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned, he muttered. You didn't just poke a bear. You lit it on fire. I didn't steal it, she said quickly. My husband did. Ben's eyes sharpened. Did? A long pause. He's dead. The words hung heavy in the air. Killed? Ben asked. She nodded. By Calloway's men. Silence settled again. And suddenly, everything made sense. The chase. The desperation. The fear that never left her eyes. You're carrying a death sentence, Ben said. I know. And now, so are we. Her voice broke. Just slightly. I know that too. The cowboy who heard everything from the bed, a weak voice cut through the silence. You talk too much. Both of them turned. Cole was awake, barely, but awake. Sarah rushed to his side. You shouldn't be, yeah, he muttered. I hear that a lot. His eyes found hers, sharp, even through the pain. Calloway, he said. That's who you brought to my door. It wasn't a question, she nodded. I didn't mean to, don't matter what you meant. The words were rough, but not cruel, just honest. He shifted slightly, wincing. That man don't send 6 riders unless he's testing the waters, Cole continued. Next time, it won't be 6. Sarah felt the weight of that settle into her chest. Then we'll leave, she said quickly. At first light. We won't drag you into this any further. Cole stared at her. Long, hard. Then no, the word hit like a hammer. Her breath caught. What? I said no, you don't understand. I understand just fine. He pushed himself up slightly, ignoring the pain. You think running's gonna save you? He asked. It won't. It's kept us alive this long. Barely. The truth cut deep. And the boy? Cole added, glancing toward Eli. How long you think he can keep living like that? Sarah couldn't answer, because she had asked herself that same question every night. A choice that changed everything. Room fell quiet again. The kind of quiet that comes before something irreversible. Cole looked at her not as a stranger now, but as someone standing at the same edge he had once stood on. You don't run from men like Calloway, he said. You end them. Sarah shook her head immediately. No, that's suicide. Maybe. And you expect me to risk my son's life on maybe? Her voice cracked, louder now, desperate, fear spilling over into anger. I expect you to realize, Cole said, his voice steady despite everything, that he's already marked. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Eli shifted slightly in the corner, listening, understanding more than he should. You keep running, Cole continued, softer now. He'll grow up hunted. The words hit her like a bullet, because they were true, and she knew it. Her legs felt weak. She sat down slowly beside the bed. What would you do? She asked. A dangerous question. Cole didn't hesitate. I'd stop being prey. The beginning of something dangerous outside. The wind picked up again, stronger now. Cole, like the land itself, was preparing for what was coming inside. 3 lives sat at a crossroads. Run and stay hunted forever. Or stand and face a man powerful enough to crush entire towns. Sarah looked at Cole. T the man who had already bled for them. T the man who spoke about death like it was something he had already made peace with. Why are you helping us? She asked quietly. This time the answer wasn't immediate. Cole looked away for a moment, out the window into the dark. When he spoke again, his voice was lower or honest. Because I know what it's like to fail someone who needed you. Her chest tightened. And I ain't doing that again. Something shifted between them. Not just gratitude. Not just survival. Something deeper. Something neither of them was ready to name. The dawn didn't bring hope. It brought certainty. A pale gray light spread across the land, cold and unforgiving, as if the sun itself hesitated to rise on what was coming. The ranch stood quiet, but it wasn't the quiet of peace anymore. It was the quiet before a storm that didn't pass. The calm before the reckoning. Cole Mercer stood on the porch, one hand resting against the wooden post for support. The bandage around his torso was already stained through, but he ignored it. Pain was familiar, predictable, unlike what was coming. You shouldn't be up, Sarah said from behind him. Her voice was softer now, not just fear anymore, but something layered beneath it. Concern, real concern. Cole didn't turn. Can't fight lying down. You can't fight at all like this. That ain't your call. Pause. She stepped closer, stopping just behind him. You're not invincible, she said quietly. Cole let out a faint breath, almost a laugh. Never said I was. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind carried the distant cry of a hawk overhead. Somewhere far off, cattle shifted restlessly. The world kept moving, even when everything else felt like it was about to end. A boy who refused to be Aphrodite stepped out onto the porch. Small but steady. I can help. Both of them looked at him. Sarah immediately shook her head. No, I'm not a baby, he said. His voice firm despite his age. Cole studied him for a long second. There was something in the boy's eyes. Not just fear, resolve. The kind that came from seeing too much too soon. "What do you know about guns?" Cole asked. Sarah shot him a look. "Cole asked him." Eli hesitated. Then, "My father taught me how to shoot." Silence. Heavy. Sarah looked away, pain flickering across her face. Cole nodded once. "All right," he said. "Then you listen carefully, Cole," Sarah warned. But he didn't stop. "If things go bad," he continued, his voice steady, "you don't run out into the open. You stay inside. You aim only if you have to. And you don't hesitate." Eli nodded. Sarah grabbed his arm gently. "You shouldn't have to do this." Eli looked at her. "I already am." That ended the argument. The dust that meant death. It started as a line on the horizon. Thin. Almost invisible. Then it grew. Wider, darker. Moving fast. Cole saw it first. Of course he did. "They're here," he said. But this time, it wasn't 6 riders. It wasn't even 10. It was an army. Dozens of men. Horses kicking up clouds of dust that swallowed the horizon whole. And at the center of it all, a black carriage. Ben stepped out beside Cole, squinting into the distance. "That ain't a raid," he muttered. "That's a statement." Cole's jaw tightened. "Yeah," he said quietly. He came himself. Henry Calloway's riders slowed as they approached, forming a wide circle around the ranch like wolves, closing in on wounded prey. The carriage rolled to a stop at the front. For a moment nothing happened. Then the door opened. A man stepped out, tall, impeccably dressed, even in the dust of the frontier. Black coat, silver watch chain, gloves untouched by dirt or blood. Henry Calloway didn't look like a man of the West. He looked like a man who owned it. His eyes scanned the ranch slowly, calculating, unimpressed. Then they landed on Cole. A faint smile touched his lips. "Mr. Mercer," he said smoothly. "I was wondering when our paths would cross." Cole didn't move. "You found what you were looking for," he said flatly. "Now leave." Calloway chuckled softly. "Oh, if only it were that simple." His gaze drifted toward the house. "Is she inside?" Cole stepped forward. "Just enough." "You take another step," he said, voice low, "and you won't walk back to that carriage." The threat hung in the air. Real. Unshaken. Calloway didn't flinch. Instead, he seemed amused. "You always were direct," he said. "That's what made Red Canyon so memorable." Sarah, watching from inside, felt her stomach drop. Red Canyon again, but this time, it wasn't just rumor. It was recognition. The truth about Red Canyon, what happened there. Calloway continued. "Wasn't luck, was it?" Cole's silence was answer enough. Calloway smiled slightly wider. 23 men, he said, all dead. And one man walks out. A pause. And now, that same man stands in my way. The air grew heavier, more dangerous, because this wasn't just a standoff anymore. This was history catching up. "You shouldn't have come," Cole said. Calloway tilted his head. "No," he replied softly. "You shouldn't have survived." The offer that changed everything. Calloway took a slow step forward. Cole's hand drifted closer to his gun. Every man around them tensed. One wrong move, and the ranch would become a graveyard. "I'm a reasonable man," Calloway said. Ben snorted quietly under his breath. Calloway ignored him. "Give me the woman," he continued, "and the boy, and I walk away." Silence. Dust swirled between them. Cole's voice came low. "Oh," Calloway sighed, almost disappointed. "You're making a mistake." "Wouldn't be my first." Calloway's eyes darkened slightly. "You think this is about revenge?" he asked. "It isn't." He reached into his coat. Every gun snapped up instantly, but he only pulled out a folded paper. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. Cole didn't answer. "List," Calloway said. "Names, judges, marshals, governors." A faint smile. "Men who answer to me." Sarah's breath caught inside the house. "That paper," Calloway continued, "is worth more than gold." More than land. He looked directly at the house now. It's worth power. The moment the truth was exposed, Sarah stepped out. Before she even realized she was moving. Stop, she called. Cole turned sharply. Get back inside. But she didn't. She walked forward slowly. Her eyes locked on Calloway. I have it, she said. Everything froze. Cole's expression darkened. Sarah, I have the evidence, she repeated. The real one. Calloway smiled. There it was. Finally. You've caused me quite the inconvenience, he said. Then take it, she said quickly. And leave them alone. Cole stepped toward her. No, she ignored him. Take it, she said again, louder now. Just let my son go. The silence that followed was unbearable. Because everyone knew this was the moment everything would change. The Cowboy's breaking point. Cole grabbed her arm, not roughly, but firm enough to stop her. You don't make deals with men like him, he said. It's the only way, she whispered. No, he said, his voice harder now. It's the fastest way to lose everything. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm trying to save my son. And I'm trying to save both of you. The words hit harder than anything else. Because they weren't just about survival anymore. They were about something deeper. Something neither of them had admitted yet. The spark. Before the fire, Calloway watched them with quiet interest. Fascinating, he murmured. Truly. Then he raised his hand. And just like that, every rifle in the circle lifted. 100 barrels aimed at the ranch. T Cole. T Sarah. T Eli. You have 1 minute. Calloway said calmly. The wind died completely. But the world held its breath. And somewhere deep inside, something in Cole Mercer snapped. Time slowed to a crawl. 1 minute. That was all Henry Calloway had given them. 60 seconds between life and death. 60 seconds to choose. Surrender or war. The silence before the storm breaks. The wind had vanished. Even the dust seemed to hang motionless in the air, as if the land itself refused to move until a choice was made. Cole Mercer stood between Sarah and an army. Bleeding, outnumbered, unyielding. Go inside, he said quietly. Sarah shook her head immediately. No, his jaw tightened. You stay out here. You die, then I die with you. The words came fast before fear could stop them. Cole turned to her sharply. For a moment, everything else faded. The men, the guns, Calloway, all of it. There was only her, only the truth hanging unspoken between them. You don't even know me, he said. Her voice trembled but didn't break. I know enough. A pause. Then softer. You didn't have to save us. But you did. That hit deeper than any bullet. Cole looked away briefly toward the horizon, like he was trying to steady something inside himself. You make it real hard to do the smart thing, he muttered. Despite everything, she almost smiled. The boy who stepped forward behind them. Eli moved. Small steps. Quiet, but determined. He walked out onto the porch, holding the rifle Cole had shown him earlier. Eli, no, Sarah cried. But he didn't stop. He stood beside Cole, not behind, beside. I'm not running anymore, he said. Calloway watched this with mild curiosity. A brave child, he said. Or a foolish one. Cole glanced down at Eli. There was no fear in the boy now. Just something hard. Something forged too early. You sure about this? Cole asked quietly. Eli nodded. They killed my father, he said. I remember. The words hung heavy. Even Calloway's expression shifted just slightly. Ignition, he said softly. So you're his son. Sarah's blood ran cold. You remember me, don't you? Calloway continued, his tone almost conversational. Your father begged, too. Stop. Sarah screamed. But it was too late. The damage was done. Eli's grip tightened on the rifle. Tears burned in his eyes. But they didn't fall. I'm not him, Eli said. The moment the world Ignatescaloe sighed. Well, I do grow tired of this. His hand lowered. That was the signal. Gunfire erupted like the sky itself had shattered. Hell unleashed. The ranch exploded into chaos. Rifles roared from every direction. Wood splintered, glass shattered, dust turned into a choking storm of smoke and debris. Get down, Cole shouted, pulling Sarah and Eli toward cover. Ben fired from the side of the barn, yelling curses as bullets tore into the structure around him. Cole moved faster than he should have been able to in his condition. Pain didn't matter anymore. Only survival, only them. He fired, bang. A rider dropped. Another shot, bang. A man spun from his horse, but there were too many, far too many inside. Cole shouted. They ran, bullets chasing them like death itself. They barely made it through the door before it slammed shut behind them, trapped between life and death inside the house. Chaos continued. Bullets ripped through the walls. Furniture splintered. The world outside had become a war zone. Sarah pressed herself against the wall, breathing hard. "We can't win this," she said. Cole reloaded calmly. "Didn't say we would." Eli looked between them. "Then what do we do?" Cole's eyes hardened. "We survive long enough to change the game." The plan that shouldn't work. Ben burst through the back door, panting. "They're closing in." Cole nodded. "Good." Ben blinked. "Good?" Cole looked at Sarah. "You still got that evidence?" She hesitated, then nodded. "It's hidden." "Where?" "In the well." Ben let out a low whistle. "Didn't see that coming." Cole almost smirked. "Smart." Then his expression turned serious again. "They want it bad enough to come this close," he said. "Which means it's the only thing keeping us alive right now." Sarah understood instantly. "If they think it's destroyed, they lose their reason to keep you breathing," Cole finished. A dangerous silence followed, because the plan forming between them was insane. The choice that broke her. "No," Sarah said immediately. "No. Can't." "You can," Cole said firmly. "That's the only leverage we have. And it's not enough," he shot back. "Not against him." Outside, footsteps grew closer. Voices shouting orders. "They were coming." "Now, you burn it," Cole said. "Make them believe it's gone." "And then what?" she demanded. He met her eyes. "Then they come for us." Her breath caught. "That's suicide." "Maybe." The word again. She shook her head. Tears spilling over. "I won't risk my son's life on maybe." Eli stepped forward. "I will." Both of them turned. "No," Sarah said immediately. But Eli didn't look at her. He looked at Cole. "What happens if we don't?" he asked. Cole didn't sugarcoat it. "They take you islands. And after that," Eli pressed. Cole's jaw tightened. "You don't want to know." That was enough. Eli turned back to his mother. "We have to do it." The fire that changed everything, hands shaking. Sarah moved to the fireplace. Cole handed her a match. For a moment she couldn't breathe. This was everything. Her husband's sacrifice, the only proof, the only weapon, and she was about to destroy it. Cole stepped closer. His voice softened. "It ain't about the paper," he said. "It's about you two making it out alive." She looked at him. The man who had already given everything without asking for anything back. Her hand steadied. She struck the match. The flame flickered to life. And then she dropped it. The paper burned. Fast, bright, gone within seconds. Just like that, the last piece of power against Cowboy turned to ash when the devil loses his presence. Front door exploded open. Cowboy stepped inside, calm, despite the chaos outside. His eyes went straight to the fireplace. To the ashes. For the first time, his composure cracked. "No." Sarah stood tall. "It's gone." The room fell silent, deadly, because something far worse than anger filled Calloway's eyes now. Rage. Pure. Uncontrolled. "You foolish woman," he said quietly. Then louder, "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Cole stepped forward. "Yeah," he said. "She just made you desperate." Calloway turned slowly toward him and smiled. But this time, there was no charm in it. Only something dark. "You think this changes anything?" he asked. Cole didn't answer, because he already knew it changed everything. The fire crackled low in the hearth. Ashes drifted upward, faint and fragile like the last remains of a war that had just begun. Henry Calloway stood in the center of the room, staring at what was left of the evidence. Gone. Years of power, leverage, Control reduced to nothing. For a long moment, no one moved. And no one breathed. Then Calloway laughed. Not loudly, not wildly, but softly, dangerously. Well, he said, brushing invisible dust from his sleeve. That changes things. When power turns to rage, his eyes lifted slowly, and when they found Sarah there was no more pretense. And no more civility. You were supposed to be a simple problem, he said. A loose end. Sarah didn't back away. Not this time. Then you should have left it that way. A flicker of something crossed his face. Respect. Perhaps, but it vanished just as quickly. You misunderstand your position, he said coldly. His hand moved. Not to his gun, but slightly upward. A signal. Outside. Boots shifted, rifles adjusted. Death waited just beyond the walls. Cole stepped forward again, placing himself between Calloway and Sarah. You're done here, Cole said. Calloway tilted his head. Am I? His gaze flicked toward Eli, and in that instant everything changed. The move no one saw coming happened in less than a second. Calloway moved faster than a man like him should have. His hand snapped out, grabbing Eli and pulling him close. A hidden pistol pressed instantly against the boy's head. No! Sarah screamed. Cole froze, every muscle locked in place, every instinct screaming to move but knowing he couldn't. Not like this, not with a gun. Pressed to the child's skull. The room shifted. Power changed hands. You've taken something from me, Calloway said quietly. So now, I take something from you. Eli stood rigid in his grip, eyes wide but not broken. Not yet. Sarah stepped forward, shaking. Let him go, she pleaded. Please, he's just a child. Calloway didn't even look at her. He's leverage. Cole's voice came low, controlled. Don't do this. Calloway smiled faintly. Why? Because it's wrong? A pause. Or because it hurts? The cowboy, who faced death without flinching, Cole slowly raised his hands. Not in surrender, but in understanding. You want something, he said. I already told you what I wanted, Calloway replied. It's gone. Calloway's jaw tightened. Then I'll settle for something else. His grip on Eli tightened slightly. The boy winced but didn't cry out, and that changed something in Cole. A flicker, a memory, a failure he had buried deep. You don't need him, Cole said quietly. Calloway raised an eyebrow. No, Cole continued. You want control. You want fear. A step forward. Slow, measured. Take me instead. Sarah turned sharply. Cole, no, quiet, he said, not taking his eyes off Calloway. The room fell silent again, because what he had just offered was everything. Calloway studied him, interested, curious. Why? He asked. Cole didn't hesitate. Because I'm the one who's been standing in your way. Beat. And because I'm the one you're really afraid of. That landed hard. Calloway's smile thinned. You think highly of yourself. I think accurately. The moment that defined them time stretched thin. Calloway looked between them. Cole, Sarah, Eli. 3 lives, 1 decision. Then slowly, he pushed Eli forward. The boy stumbled and Cole moved instantly, catching him, pulling him back. Sarah rushed forward, grabbing Eli, holding him tight like she would never let go again. And in that exact moment, Calloway raised his gun, straight at Cole. You're right, he said softly. I don't need the boy. The trigger began to tighten. The shot that changed everything. Bang. The gunshot echoed through the house, but it wasn't Calloway's. He staggered, confusion flashing across his face, then pain. A dark stain spread across his chest. He looked down slowly, almost disbelieving. Behind him, old Ben stood in the door, rifle still smoking. Reckon you talk too much, Ben muttered. Calloway swayed. His eyes lifted once more to Cole. Something bitter twisted in his expression. You think this ends it? He rasped. Cole didn't move, didn't blink. No, he said quietly, but it's a start. Calloway exhaled slowly, then collapsed. And just like that, the man who owned the West owned nothing at all. The battle outside. Insolence. For one long second, Then chaos. Outside. Shouting. Confusion. The men who followed Calloway didn't fight for ideals, they fought for power. And power had just fallen. Cole stepped outside, gun in hand, voice steady. "It's over," he called. A few shots rang out, then more shouting, then nothing. One by one, the riders began to pull back. Some fled, some surrendered, because without Calloway they were just men. Again, what remains after Worth's sun rose higher, burning away the last of the darkness. The ranch was damaged, scarred, but standing, much like the people inside it. Sarah sat on the porch, Eli beside her, his head resting against her shoulder. For the first time since this began, they were safe. Truly safe. Cole stepped up slowly, still weak, but standing. Sarah looked up at him, and everything she had held back finally broke free. She stood, walked toward him, and, without hesitation, she wrapped her arms around him tightly, like letting go would mean losing him. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. He hesitated for just a second, then held her back. "Yeah," he said softly. "I did." The promise fulfilled. She pulled back slightly, looking into his eyes. The same eyes that had once been distant, closed, off, untouchable, but not anymore. "You protected him," she said. A pause. Her voice softened. "You protected both of us." Cole didn't respond right away, because this part was harder than facing guns. "I told you," he said finally. "No deals." A faint smile touched her lips through tears. This wasn't a deal. Silence settled between them. Warm now. Not heavy, not dangerous, just real. She took a breath, then said it again, not as a bargain, not as desperation, but as truth. "Protect my son, and I'll be yours forever." Cole looked at her, long, deep, and this time his answer didn't leave anyone speechless because of shock. It did because of what it meant. "You already are," he said. A new beginning in the dust. Weeks later, the ranch breathed again. Cattle moved across the fields. The windmill turned. Life returned. But it wasn't the same. It was better, stronger, built on something that had been tested in fire. Eli laughed again, ran through the yard with the freedom he had never known. Sarah stood beside Cole on the porch, watching him. "You're staying?" he asked. She smiled softly. "Only if you'll have me." He glanced at her. "You still think you need to ask?" She shook her head. "No." And for the first time, she didn't feel like she was running